Sitting here watching Joe Rogan over the last few days really made me realize that he's the #1 podcast for a reason. What other podcasts out there where you have a multimillionaire who never talks about how rich he is or anything like that? See, I remember Joe Rogan when he was just an extra in the Dave Chappelle skits. I remember Joe Rogan when he was on that show where people would eat bugs and stuff like that. That crazy competition show. I remember him when he first started doing the UFC thing. Joe Rogan is definitely an example of somebody who prevailed. He's seen success basically when he turned 45. And his podcast was around for about 10 years before it even got big. And I just want to give a salute to Joe Rogan, man. What other podcast has theoretical cosmologists and theoretical physicists, former CIA agents, conspiracy theorists, all of these different high-tech scientists, philosophers. It's just his show covers such a wide array of topics, and I think he symbolizes the average guy. The average guy, I think, goes on Google and tries to learn a bunch of stuff when he's high. And I think if you can manifest that whole concept into a show, it will be Joe Rogan's show. And he made a lot of stars. A lot of guys who we started out with now have successful podcasts. Joey Diaz, and it's like, man, how can you hate Joe Rogan? You know, it's a great show. And DJ Vlad, when I used to be a fan of him, I thought that he could be the next Joe Rogan, but I don't think he can, because I think he's too self-centered. I think he's too focused on how much money he has, and I don't think he has the ability to talk about a wide range of topics. He probably does, but he rather focus on the ghetto, gangbanging, murder. And Joe Rogan does that as well. If he interviews somebody who's a former gangbanger or a rapper who has that in their autobiography, he'll talk about that. But his whole show isn't about that. See, the difference between Vlad and Joe Rogan is Vlad is a universal podcast. I mean, Joe Rogan is a universal podcast. Vlad is a podcast that strictly feeds off the ghetto. He's like a vulture in the sky circling around the ghetto, looking for the next dead thing. Joe Rogan is a guy that's looking for life, you know? So, yeah, man, peace to Joe Rogan.